Hi again. Kenneth Scott Latourette in A History of Christianity on page 389. He's been discussing the spread of Christianity to Scandinavia, first Denmark, then Norway, then Sweden, in the 9th through the 12th centuries. Now he gets to the spread of Christianity in Scandinavian outposts in the Atlantic, and finally to America. The Viking explosion of the 9th and 10th centuries planted Scandinavian colonies, largely Norwegian, on westward lying islands as far away as Greenland. In the latter part of the 10th and the forepart of the 11th century, Christianity was carried to them and their populations accepted it, but in some instances not without hesitation and with divided councils. The Orkney, the Faroe, and the Shetland Islands had something of a Christian population before the coming of the Vikings. The latter represented a pagan influx. Olaf Tryggvason is credited with the conversion of the populations of the Faroes and the Shetlands, and with the forcible baptism of the head man of the Orkneys. Olaf Haraldsson helped him to confirm and deepen the change. The first settlers of Iceland seem to have been Irish monks, but obviously they did not give rise to a continuing population. The first large immigration appears to have been by Norwegians, who disliked the centralizing measures of Harald Fairhair. Some effort at their conversion was made in the 980s. More vigorous and outwardly successful measures were taken at the instance of Olaf Tryggvason during his brief and stormy reign. Many were baptized, and for a time civil war threatened between Christians and pagans. This was avoided by a compromise suggested by one of the leading men. It was agreed that all were to accept baptism, but that secret sacrifices to the old gods were to be met with only minor penalties. A few years later, paganism was officially abolished. Olaf Haraldsson sent at least one bishop and a bell and timber for a church. The island long suffered from a shortage of clergy. This was partly met by training local boys and by a line of native bishops. The lads so prepared remained in subjection to the chiefs, and the bishops, while sent to the continent for consecration, were elected by the island assembly, the Althing, or Althing, Althing. The first Norse settlement of Greenland was on the less insalubrious west coast and from Iceland near the end of the 10th century. The leader was a pagan, Eric the Red. Christianity was introduced by his son Leif, or Leif, who had been won to the faith by Olaf Tryggvason, and who, to his father's disgust, brought a priest to the island. The Norse population was never large, probably not much over 2,000. Churches and a cathedral were eventually erected, and in the forepart of the 12th century a bishop was consecrated. The bishop was henceforth the civil as well as the ecclesiastical head of the colony. It was by the Norse that Christianity reached America. Leif Ericson himself is said to have been the first to touch the continent. How many Norse came in succeeding years we do not know, nor do we know where they went, how many of them were Christians, or whether they made any converts among the Eskimos and Indians. I'll put in a link to a video Vivian did about her discovery upon leaving the Watchtower decades ago, about many great missionaries over the centuries that she'd never even heard of. And of course, if you're in a cult, you know the reason why that happens. Also, next time we'll be dealing with the winning of the Scandinavian, let's read that title again. The winning of the Scandinavians in Russia and the beginnings of Russian Christianity. See you next time.